morning. So good to see all these faces. Welcome. As mentioned, I'm Bree Cayley with US Bank, and I'm so excited to partner with Innovate, Collaborate, Oregon. This organization is amazing, works with entrepreneurs and startup businesses across the state, and a big part of what we do at US Bank is with businesses in all stages. My team specifically works with new startup businesses to help them navigate the SBA process, open business checking accounts, and establish credit. So again, welcome. Innovate? Okay, you guys are I'm gonna have to apologize. There's some big words in this. So again, I apologize if I mess any names up, but we'll give this a go here. So Innovate, Collaborate, Oregon is a joint alliance with OSU, Portland State, U of O, Go Ducks, and Oregon Health Science University that promotes and supports innovation and entrepreneurship across Oregon to benefit the global community. Welcome, panel moderator, Ricardo Lopez. Ricardo is a Business Oregon's investment strategist and runs the Oregon Growth Board, an entity designed to fill capital gaps by investing state lottery dollars in private markets. Ricardo is in charge of 2 private investment portfolios, one return-oriented and one prioritizing economic development. Say all that 10 times fast. Prior to taking on the role, he worked as an investment analyst for the Oregon State Treasurer and as an investment associate for the consulting firm RVK Inc. Ricardo is a chartered alternative investment analyst, CAIA, holder, and earned a Bachelor of Business Administration and Finance, as well as a Master's of Science in Finance. That's impressive. At the University of Portland. Again, we appreciate you for being here. And here's our panel of guests. Dr. Bahman Abbasi, welcome. Miss Anna Brown. Keat Ghee Ong, welcome. Last but not least, Norah Verbout. Thank you again for attending. Actually, you have one.
Thank you very much. Everybody hear me all right? All right, perfect. Thank you for joining us here. Apologies for the extremely long introduction there from my LinkedIn. We're going to talk a little bit about startups in general, but more specifically, give you an opportunity to talk about how the universities can and do help our startups here in the state. We're going to try to approach this through a few different angles, but I would really like to start on a positive note. We have different types of companies in different stages, focusing on different types of technologies, but they have some things in common, which you'll see. But starting up with the positives, Bahman here, what would you say are some of the opportunities that you've seen in Oregon that have helped you get to where you are right now?
Yeah, well, thank you for that, and good morning to you all. My name is Bahman Abbasi, and I spun out Espiku from Oregon State University about 4 years ago, and I've been at OSU since 2017. So at some point, I'll give you an intro to talk about what Espiku does. We are in the water and mineral space, and to date, we have raised about $10.5 million, all of it non-dilutive. And the reason I tell you this is when you go after this kind of awards, this kind of grants that are just right for you, they don't always cover all the expenses. They do not always overlap, so you have funding gaps between your phases of development. There are occasions that your grants, your funding does not allow you to prepare for the next round. So you have these gaps all the time. And that is where Business Oregon and the support from Oregon State has been really, really instrumental for us to really keep the ship together and bridge those gaps. So we've gone after the Equipment Fund, Oregon Metals Initiative. We've gone after the SBIR matching grant and a whole bunch of other programs. And at every stage, those have enabled us to reach for the next round. And even though the amount may not be all that much, really the influence, the impact has been disproportional. The other thing that I would say is money is, of course, it's a business. It's the biggest part of a business is your money flow. But one thing that really distinguishes us and this whole community here in Oregon is the support that you get from Oregon State, from Business Oregon, and from really every part of this community. Before moving to Oregon and to OSU, I had the opportunity to work as an advisor to the US Department of Energy for about 5 years. And in that capacity, I managed dozens of multi-million-dollar projects all over the country, top-tier universities, middle-tier universities. And I got to understand some of the challenges, business opportunities. And I tell you with quite a bit of certainty that I've never seen a culture so supportive than what we have here. We are not as rich as California or New York. Our dollar amounts are not that big. But this supportive culture has been truly instrumental. That was quite honestly one of the main, thank you. One of the main reasons that I moved here in 2017. I really did my homework and I wanted a culture, a supportive culture. And I have to give a shout out to OSU Advantage Accelerator Office, and they've been phenomenal. I know people at universities we will not name who want to license their patents from their universities, and they're having a devil of a time to do that. For us, every time I want to call Carl Mondorf, Dave Dixon at that office, I feel happy and excited about it because I know help is on the way. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, and then we'll talk more.
Perfect. And I cheated a little because I knew he had a positive thing to say. So I wanted to pick on him first. But I'd like to give everybody an opportunity to provide their own experience and give a brief intro as to what you're actually doing with your company, please.
My name's Anna Brown. I'm with Stark Street Materials, and we're a spin-out from Portland State University. It has been a long, strange journey, but basically the tech we developed was something I invented as a grad student and has iterated over the years and developed, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here or running my company if it hadn't been for the support of PSU, both the financial and the encouragement, but also the knowledge and opportunities to join the NSF I-Corps program, which was really pretty important for turning from a scientist into an entrepreneur. You know, being able to talk about what a market is and who's going to buy the product. It seems very obvious from a business perspective, but I assure you, as a scientist, it was very confusing. Anyway, the opportunities in Oregon are phenomenal, and they're, the personnel capital is great because people like living here. They want to live here. People will move here to work in Oregon, and it's a lot cheaper than California and New York. But that also creates a really good employee base. You know, they're here, they're inspired. One of the things about working in deep tech or hard tech, depending on what you want to call it, is that there's more than just the financial gain. There's a lot of intellectual development. There's the opportunity to really move civilization forward and potentially make the world better. And those are inspiring. And I definitely don't discount that when I talk about my startup.
Ghee?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sure. So, and my name is Ghee Ong, and then I moved from Michigan to University of Oregon in 2019. Yes, go dark, we do very well this year. And then in 2020, I spin out a company called Penderia Technologies, and what we do is we do medical tech, mostly implantable devices for orthopedic applications. And it's based upon my research for over 20 years. And then our company is still relatively young. So far, we get about 2.5 million of non-dilutive funding. And the thing I want to highlight for what the university does is it does a couple of things. One of those is it provides competencies. The company itself, I mean, I'm good at technology, but there are a lot of things there's above, I mean, beyond my capability. Anything that how to run the business, how to understanding the patent process and, you know, intellectual property, especially when we in so-called deep tech. This type of expertise is very useful. Even things that we don't see is very important. For example, just how to promote yourself, even how to design your company logo, and those expertise is very important. And university, especially University of Oregon, who has a business school, law school, and design school, and those are very critical for us to patch all these background and all these what do you call it? All these holes in our expertise. And then of course, just like what Bahman say, at first, there's always a gap in the funding, especially when we start as a non-dilutive funding, and those gaps are very useful for university to kind of patch in, help out a little bit, smooth things out, and again, university also can help provide some of the expertise in how to grant management and so on. So that's what I have for now. Maybe you can move on to the next one.
Thank you, Nora.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Innovate, Collaborate Oregon, for inviting me to speak today, and also US Bank for supporting this panel where I can share my perspective on biotech. My name's Norah Verbout. I am Director of Strategic Partnerships at Aronora, which is a clinical stage biotech firm situated in Portland, Oregon, and we're focused on targeting clotting and inflammatory pathways. I want to say that Aronora is an Oregon biotech by choice. So this company was founded in 2009. It was a spinoff of Oregon Health Sciences University, and I joined in 2010. So I was the second employee there, and that makes about 14 years that I've been working in a startup environment, which is pretty exciting. The technologies that we are developing include a therapeutic antibody that targets chronic clotting conditions. It's in phase 2 development, as well as a therapeutic enzyme that is targeting acute clotting indications, currently in phase 2 development as well. And we also have 2 preclinical biologics that are in development. To give you a bit of a snapshot of where Aronora stands right now, to date, we've raised about $60 million in mostly non-dilutive funding, and the majority of that has come because of our interest in pursuing the small business grant pathway to help commercialize these projects. We've also been fortunate to have a co-development agreement with Bayer to help, and most recently an equity investment from the New York Blood Ventures. We are currently raising our Series A round of fund and also looking for a partner in industry, perhaps, for to commercialize these projects. So we have 2 options we're looking at right now. To give you just a little bit of idea of what I do, I'm helping with mapping out strategic directives for commercializing these technologies. Leading up to this, I was overseeing the development of one of the therapeutic enzymes in our portfolio and have been a principal investigator on small business grants and collaborated with a number of investigators at Oregon Health Sciences University to help commercialize these products.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for your introductions here. I'll let you, and just to share a little bit that maybe I'm not supposed to. This is not supposed to be an official pitch, so this is not a pitch. But I really want them to show off. I want them to talk about what they're doing and what they want to do. So one of the links, the common links between you on top of the universities, is the fact that you're not focused on traditional VC software, B2B SaaS, marketplace platforms, and so. Would you mind talking a little bit about how that makes your life harder and some of the challenges that you see? And don't give that microphone away. I would like you to get started this time.
Great, thank you. I realized I didn't actually talk about my product at all. Mostly I was just excited to talk about how Oregon is great. We make radiation shielding materials, so non-toxic, flexible. You've all used a lead apron in a dentist's office. We're looking to replace those for doctors, surgeons, and nurses who use them in the hospital and have to wear these heavy garments all day, every day. There's a lot of problems with them. It's an extraordinarily weird market, but it's we've got a great technology that I think is hopefully going to completely replace the radiation shielding market for consumables and wearables. Pardon me. I'm pregnant, and that's just how it goes. Thank you. Anyway, the how it's different from software. My husband works in software. We have a lot of friends in software development and get involved in the VCs and really the Silicon Valley environment. And there's a very different mindset that has to go into these hard tech or tough tech or physical tech, whatever you want to call them. And basically, it includes a much larger extended R&D timeframe. But it does have the advantage that the marketing portion of it is usually pretty well established, which the B2B SaaS models can be a little more challenging with. So there's a lot larger upfront costs to produce the product, and a lot more technical risk, which is where the government, as we've all pointed out, we all have large amounts of government grants to reduce that risk, reduce that technical risk, get that non-dilutive funding to prove the product. And then once we have the technology fleshed out, our companies are valuable just from their IP in many ways. And so then actually getting that product, getting that reduced risk, R&D, development, and product to market, that's where venture funding tends to come in. And it tends to be challenging to find investors who understand the technology, they understand the timeline to a lot of these, but also understand what the value is and what the opportunities are. And as I mentioned, I'm a little bit of an idealist. The opportunities are to move civilization forward and bring these new technologies and these new products and these new inventions out of universities and into the marketplace. But it is a much longer timeline, and that can be a challenge. They also tend to be much more substantial than hype. So you can think of a number of Silicon Valley industries that are a lot of hype, not a lot of substance. We tend to be much heavier on the substance and a little bit lighter on the hype.
I love that dig. Anybody else have any other thoughts on the specific challenges that go with raising or focusing a company or growing a company that is considered deep tech or advanced manufacturing or something that's non-software?
I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm going to hear from my fellow panelists first.
Just quickly want to add that especially when you are med tech, which is part of the deep tech, we have to go through two more challenges. One is regulatory, and med tech regulatory is actually notoriously difficult, not difficult, but a little bit more challenging, and a lot of investment is actually go through that. And the other one is the pay, the reimbursement pathway, because the customer and the one that who pay are not the same people, so the strategy is going to be even more challenging. I think that Norah probably can add more on that.
Yeah, certainly. So we're developing biologics, which are going to have a pretty rigorous regulatory environment to get into and a long timeline for development. And the costs associated with manufacturing and clinical trials to get to the point of a BLA is huge. And so these are kind of the big challenges I think that a biotech company such as ours is facing. Yeah.
And sticking with you, Norah, what are some resources, in addition to money? We'll get to the money. I think you're all in different stages when it comes to raising money, but what are some other resources that you have struggled to secure, that you've been grateful to be able to secure so far?
Yeah, being a biotech company in Oregon has some challenges. That's for sure. For us, when I think about this, there's two things that come to mind. The first is access to high net worth venture capital networks. But the second that was really impactful, I guess, for our journey was access to post-incubator housing. And so our company was fortunate to be housed within the Oregon Bioscience Incubator located in Portland for 5 years. This was a great resource for us to have because it allowed us to share a lot of commodities that a new company, a biotech company needs. But at some point, it was time for us to leave and to find a space outside of the incubator. And we had a really challenging time finding a space for a pre-revenue company that needs lab space to situate ourselves. And as maybe you know or don't, but a wet lab space has a very specialized set of functions that you need in order to situate yourself. And so we spent some time looking for this, and we were lucky to find a spot situated between two universities there, Portland State and Oregon Health Sciences University, and we decided to do our own build out. And we were fortunate to get some matching funds to help with this build out from Business Oregon. So they provided us with a matching because we had an SBIR grant. But this build out comes with some risks in that it's a custom built space for us. We now have a long-term lease in a downtown, pretty big metropolitan area. So these are kind of the big risks that we had taken on in order to continue developing our products. And so I kind of feel that my ask would be more options for a company mid-level such as ours before we're at revenue stage for us to situate and have lab space, some kind of public-private partnership where there's more spaces for companies that are graduating from the Oregon Bioscience Incubator and need a space to go. So some work on that would be a huge.
Excellent. So some biotech YIMBYism is what we're...
Accelerator, incubator, all of it, yeah. And especially if you could find a way to leverage a public-private partnership here where you've got, universities and maybe, pharma combined or an investment, really.
Well, you're talking to the right people over here. Anybody else while they're here? Any asks, any considerations that you think are would be great resources for you?
So I can talk a little bit about what we do and the challenges that we face and opportunities that we can exploit. So our technologies are water and minerals. So any kind of high salinity, highly contaminated produced water from industrial processes, pharmaceutical, oil and gas, any kind of extractive process, geothermal waters. When a lot of other technologies cannot touch that, our technologies are the thing that come in, and we have patented processes that treat those waters, obtain fresh water, but also extract minerals. None of that is software. It is all hard tech materials, build it, run it, high energy processes generally. And our products are containerized units. They're here in Bend, so we have two pilot devices here in Bend, and they are sitting in the parking lot. And part of it really is because of what Norah said, infrastructure for a pre-revenue company. We are in the process of looking for different shops. We are talking to the natural gas company, local natural gas company. When our engineers first told me how much gas we needed, I got a little scared. When we told the gas company, they got a little scared. So getting the facilities with adequate electricity and energy supply with the kind of flexible rent structure that we can take advantage of and some sort of incubator space. I know that OSU over in Corvallis, north of Corvallis, has Atomy and AMI and these spaces. Having that more across the state can be very, very helpful. And in terms of opportunities, Business Oregon has provided a lot of opportunities. We have been able to buy some equipment using UDHV. I forget the acronym. There's this state-sponsored program that you can buy tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. So these opportunities are all available as well.
Excellent, thank you. And we probably have some investors here in the room, so we're obliged to talk about the money side of things, fundraising, and more particularly, how do we position ourselves? Let's start with making sure that your cap table is clean and attractive to investors, right? Ghee, do you have experience trying to position your company in a way that, given your particular profile, it'll make for an attractive investment opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, our strategy is pretty much done by all these people. I mean, we are trying to start with a non-dilutive funding and try to de-risking. And especially for us, at MedTech, our de-risking is two approach. I mean, two de-risking. One is technology de-risking. That is to show the investor that our technology is going to work in the way that we want them to work. And then the other de-risking is regulatory pathway de-risking. Basically, just to show that we have done all the necessary testing to show that our chance of getting approval is much higher. And of course, if you can get to the stage that you already get the approval before you go through some serious funding, then your funding is going to be much more attractive. So the R's and then the dilutive component before and after approval are huge difference. That's one of our specialties or MedTech.
Anybody else have gotten any related feedback from investors, for instance, when you go out to fundraise?
I'm happy to share. We have learned that we are pretty unique in terms of being a company of 8 who has 2 assets in phase 2 development. And so what part of the challenge of that is that the ask for us is quite big. We're at the point where we're looking at manufacturing and clinical trials that are in the magnitude of $10 million. And so to make ourselves attractive and to de-risk the products, we have relied on the non-dilutive funding pathway as well. We have validated our mechanisms of action in non-human primate studies, which for biologics, for a company such as ours, that's pretty important in that it demonstrates a proof of concept before you leap into humans. And so these are kind of the ways that we're trying to, I guess, emphasize our best features.
Excellent. And then we only have got time for one more question, so I'd like to give you an opportunity to give out a shout out to either a specific program that has helped you in the state, or a specific contact that was very helpful and went above and beyond to help you get to where you are today. And anybody can lead that one.
The Oregon Bioscience Incubator, OTRADI, in Portland, Oregon, was hugely helpful for us when we stayed there for our 5-year tenure. That was fantastic. Business Oregon gave us the matching grant to help with our build out. The OHSU Springboard Fund helped when we needed to become an incorporated after being an LLC.
My shout out is to the team at Portland State University. So Travis and Joe, they've, like I said, wouldn't be sitting up here without them and their encouragement. The NSF I-Corps program as well. Also the NSF just in general and their SBIR program. Like I said, transitioning from a scientist to an entrepreneur is, it's not totally intuitive. So that program was incredibly helpful. Business Oregon, the Cascadia Clean Tech Accelerator, and I hope I'm not missing any other funding source.
So my main one goes to OSU's Advantage Accelerator office. But just a little comment, I hope that there are not a lot of academics here who are going to take offense in this, but building a business, building a product is very, very difficult. So something that I don't tell my colleagues is that try to build the journal paper that you just wrote, and then let's talk about it. A lot comes together. OSU has been tremendous in trying to help us manage all these grants. When you get multi-million dollars from the DoD, DOE, it is really, really onerous to manage this. And OSU has been tremendous to help us just navigate all of that. Talent acquisition, retention, IP management, all of these pieces, as a small 10-person company, there's no way we could do these things without really leaning heavily on this kind of state resources. And of course, Business Oregon with all the matching funds. And Oregon Metals Initiative has been something that has really helped us with some research aspects. It takes an army, really.
Yeah, just a quick add-on is I noticed that all of us had some matching fund. So I think that matching grant is a very, very useful mechanism for a startup, and cannot overstate the importance of those. And of course, for me, especially the University of Oregon Night Campus, all these new building incubator, it really helps out a lot to save a lot of trouble to begin with.
Excellent, thank you. Now we have some time for some questions, I believe, maybe?
Great. How about a round of applause for these panelists? This was really fantastic. So just as a reminder, when you ask a question, I'll repeat it so everyone can hear, and we'll go from there. So in terms of startup resources for startups that are not affiliated with the university, what would the process look like?
I was afraid you would say that. I guess I have to point to Business Oregon. We have a lot of programs. I apologize for the amount of programs because it can be very difficult to navigate that. But we do have a very cool new set of programs focusing on technical assistance that comes to mind, where they're actually partnering with culturally specific organizations to help companies and startups position themselves to get in the best place to raise capital and clean their cap table, as we mentioned, work on accounting, kind of get the fundamentals in place so that they can figure out which route they even need to take, right? Not everybody needs venture capital. In fact, very few companies need venture capital. So really understanding what path you need to take is crucial, and these technical assistant programs are very helpful. So if you Google Business Oregon Technical Assistance, hopefully that gets you started.
It'll send you in some direction. Yeah. Any other questions for Ricardo and the panelists? You all are quiet today. Are you sure? No other questions? Okay. Oh, yes, in the back.
For those of you who have taken federal funding, I'm curious to hear about who is used to help manage that. I know you called out OSU was pivotal to help manage your awards. Has anyone else who found that challenging?
Yeah. So the question is for folks who have accepted federal funding, what tools have you found to be helpful in managing those dollars?
Yeah, I just want to put a quick perspective for me, which is an earlier stage of company. At first, I tried to handle it myself, and then whoever I hired the first one, and I can say we did it terribly, and then we're still dealing with some of the mistakes we deal with. But right now, once we start to build out a bit, we actually hire a accountant who help us to do that. And the accountant is going to be very specific, not just general accountant. Some accountant, especially for us, is the National Institute of Health, someone who is actually very good and understand what NIH wants and what the reporting requirement is, what you can spend, what is not. And yes, you need to find those especially accountants. And we luckily go through the network here to find us someone who actually know how to do that. And she is based in Portland, so we have to do it remotely, but it works well.
I agree.
Yeah, so get help right away, right at the start. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, I think you did a great job. They have no questions. Really wonderful information. Thank you so much, Ricardo, for moderating, and thank you all for being here. How about one more round of applause for this panel?